AEW can learn many things from WCW. Don't hire legends just for the sake of it, take risks to revolutionize the wrestling business, and for God's sake, don't put your biggest prize on David Bloody Arquette. Anyway, for the first time since WCW fizzled out and ultimately became Vince McMahon's property, although he doesn't like to mention it, and TNA tried to establish a new Monday Night War with Impact in 2010, WWE could have some competition. AEW, the next hopeful in line, has promise. The company is backed by the mega-rich Khan family, has shrewd business minds like Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, and Chris Jericho in tow, and the promotion has buzz before even landing on TV. The future is already looking up, so what better time than now to look to the past? I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture, and these are 10 things AEW can learn from WCW Nitro's debut. Number 10. Start off with a hot match. It's doubtful that many casual TV viewers knew who Jushin Thunder Liger was when he entered the Mall of America for the first match in WCW Nitro history. Now, of course, we all know him as the thumb in the bum guy from PWG. To their credit, rather than filling in the blanks, the announce trio of Eric Bischoff, Bobby Heenan, and Steve McMichael let Liger's in-ring work do the talking. The Japanese legend and Brian Pillman served up one of the most unique matches Monday Night has ever seen. What was happening on Raw?
13th century vampire, 20th century cop.
Any questions?
Yeah, there was no Raw that week. AEW must do the same. Capitalize on the sheer number of fresh eyes watching their product and present a match so hot it'd burn fans' fingers if they even dared to pick up their remote controls. Number 9. Have at least one other eagerly anticipated match. When asked on his 83 Weeks podcast why he didn't open Nitro with a match like Ric Flair vs. Sting, Eric Bischoff said he wanted to keep that one back for later in the show. Smart. If AEW do the same, I wouldn't be surprised. A marquee match like Chris Jericho versus Kenny Omega would live up to the billing, as would something like the Young Bucks versus SoCal Uncensored. There are loads of choices that play to AEW's biggest stars. All they need to do is make sure that bout is pre-advertised ahead of time. Nothing else needs to be promoted as such, but there should be one key hook that makes sure the first episode of AEW TV is must-see. Just like Eric Bischoff did on Nitro, AEW owe it to themselves to hype what they have in reserve and make it all mean something. Number 8. Book festivities around the actual show. Right, I'm going to say one of the most controversial takes in wrestling right now. Are you sitting down? Pastamania was a load of bollocks. There, I said it, and I refuse to relent on the argument that Hulk Hogan pushing an Italian fast food chain was anything other than ridiculous. Watch the first Nitro and you'll see a fired up Hulk saying the word Pastamaniacs at least 30 bloody times during his 2-minute promo. It was silly, but it was an attempt to drum up business. As silly as Pastamania was, Bischoff catching a quick word with Hogan, who was surrounded by a throng of happy-looking kids, gave the impression that World Championship Wrestling had taken over the Mall of America. In other words, Nitro was more than pro wrestling. It was a marketing machine, brother. I'm not suggesting AEW open the first ever Kenny Omega noodle bar, but it wouldn't be a terrible idea to book festivities around the first taping that present All Elite in the best possible light. Sod it, get the Jacksonville Jaguars in. Number 7. Use the buzz to promote. Saturday night was dead in the water when Nitro launched. It went from A to B or even C show pretty quickly, and with good reason. Still, and this is one of the most important lessons AEW can learn, Eric Bischoff didn't let the Weekend Warrior go without mention. He knew even then that the onus was on WCW to push their products. Promote, promote, promote. Like the way I promote WhatCulture Wrestling's excellent podcast, available on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts now. Just search for WhatCulture Wrestling. Anyway, he purred about how Sting and Randy Savage would team together on Saturday night in a huge tag team match. That was it. And that was the extent of the show's hype, and it was all the shill needed to be. This is something AEW have to do during their first episode of their TV show, because hype is king. not that one. By that point, All Elite should have a catalogue of merch they can sell and other pay-per-views they can hype up. Hopefully, they'll also offer some online video and content that complements what fans can see on TNT too. Being the Elite. Number 6. Use the work your competition has already put in. When he worked the Double or Nothing pay-per-view, Chris Jericho became the only wrestler to have worked for ECW, WCW, WWE, New Japan, and AEW. I got a bingo! Similarly, Justin Rhodes and Christopher Daniels became the only ones who've worked for WCW, TNA, WWE, and AEW. This is the kind of pedigree that the company can really crow about, and why wouldn't they? There's no shying away from the fact that Jericho is best known for his WWE work, and Dustin is best remembered as the controversial Goldust character. Oh, and this guy was quite big in WWE too. AEW can use this history to their advantage. It should help when packaging future pay-per-views as a must-buy for older wrestling fans. There's zero shame in using the work WWE did to raise the profile of these workers previously before they even reached AEW. WCW did that with Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Big Bubba Rogers, and others all the way back in 1995. Number 5. Present something totally different to WWE. The first Nitro had a lot of elements that were exclusive to WCW. Although AEW can't claim the same, Jericho, Omega, Moxley and others do wrestle elsewhere, they can make the most of what they do have. They are nothing like WWE. Thank God. Wrestling and the actual matches themselves will be the priority in AEW. The volume of in-ring talent speaks for itself, and it won't be a surprise if All Elite bouts litter the top end of Dave Meltzer's star ratings for years to come. That will be a big contrast to WWE's reliance on soap opera storylines and larger-than-life characters. Oh, and this monstrosity, of course. If handled correctly, AEW could offer a product that tops NXT without even having the WWE machine behind it. Being honest, it has to. Number 4. Book a surprise to get people talking. What is he doing here? Bischoff cried out as Lex Luger shockingly showed up to take in a bit of Ric Flair versus Sting on the first Nitro. 24 hours earlier, Lex had appeared on a WWF card, and nobody, especially Vince McMahon, whose head presumably exploded, predicted that he'd cause shockwaves by gatecrashing WCW. The stunt, one McMahon knew nothing about, made Nitro exciting from the off and enhanced WCW's reputation all at once. They've been able to cherry-pick one of the WWF's top stars and sneak him onto the debut showing of Nitro. It was massive. It got people talking. They've already done it at Double or Nothing, and, well, that went pretty bloody well, didn't it? Even if they can't get a Roman Reigns to jump ship, there are loads of top indie names who could fill the Luger slot and get social media humming. Will Ospreay, for example, would set the place alight if he showed face. Or maybe even this guy. We can dream, damn it! Number 3. End on a cliffhanger. In 1 hour, Hulk Hogan went from pushing his new fast food restaurant to beating Bubba Rogers and staring down the invading Lex Luger. Following Nitro's main event, the match was set. Hogan versus Luger for the WCW World title on the next week's show. And that, boys and girls, is what you call a cliffhanger. There were loads of questions. Did Hulk feel threatened by Lex? Would Luger go from WWF star to WCW champion in just 7 days? Where did Randy Savage and Sting factor into all of this? Would everybody have to be stupid to miss Nitro's second episode? Cliffhanger endings have been a tried and tested winner for television since forever. AEW need to give people a reason to be excited for the second episode of TV. Number 2. Don't go head-to-head. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer said AEW's earliest start date for TV is the 1st of October. Not so coincidentally, WWE moved SmackDown to Fox that same week, albeit in a rearranged Friday time slot in the short term. That leaves Tuesday night unopposed. This is terrific news for anybody who wants to see AEW flourish. Back in 1995, the wrestling landscape was different. This was a thing after all, and the WWF's Monday Night Raw show was often missable television that flashed past without much consequence, and that left the door open for WCW Nitro to ramp up the excitement and competition. 2019 doesn't offer the same sort of freedom for All Elite. Raw and SmackDown, despite sagging ratings and all this bollocks, are the market leaders. Though true that going head-to-head with Vince McMahon worked for WCW in the mid-90s, it wouldn't be wise in today's world. There's no need for AEW to try and eat into WWE's stranglehold. They can develop their own audience and steal viewers away by presenting a superior product that doesn't make fans choose. Number 1. Act like you're it. Throughout the entire 60-minute duration of the first Nitro, Bischoff, Heenan, and McMichael constantly pushed the WCW agenda. They said Nitro was where it's at and had the best athletes in the world, and also teased a few digs at Monday Night Raw's stale formula into the bargain too. Of course, WWE would never do that now. The announcers, excitable audience, motivated performance from the roster, and slick production all added to the thought that WCW might actually be number 1. They weren't, but they acted like they were. This is another essential lesson for All Elite to learn. Fake it till you make it.
Hi guys, I'm Adam Wilborn from WhatCulture, and if you're a fan of what you've just seen, then make sure you subscribe to WhatCulture Wrestling on either iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts for daily wrestling podcasts, where we not only review Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live, we also discuss the events before and after of pay-per-views. We have roundtable discussions discussing burning wrestling issues, interviews, and a roundup of the week, complete with a bloody good quiz, of course, on wrestle culture. Thanks for watching. I've been Adam from WhatCulture, and I'll see you soon.